Welcome to this explainer. Handheld gaming has taken us on an absolutely wild ride over the last few decades, right? I mean, we've gone from literally squinting at monochrome pixels powered by AA batteries, all the way to holding full-blown portable gaming PCs that can run sprawling, cinematic open worlds right in the palms of our hands. It's just crazy to think about. Today, we are establishing the absolute elite. This is the definitive, undisputed list of the top 10 greatest handheld gaming consoles of all time. Okay, let's dive into this.
But real quick before we hit number 10, we have to define what makes a handheld truly legendary. Well, it's not just about raw power. Actually, as we'll see, that power often comes at a pretty steep price. We are judging these titans on a few absolutely crucial things: their game libraries, their technical innovation, and their long-term impact on the industry. These devices didn't just entertain us, they fundamentally changed how and where we play.
Kicking off our top 10 is a real masterclass in compromise. The Nintendo Game Boy Advance from 2001. Now, the GBA is legendary because it perfectly executed Nintendo's golden formula, simple hardware resulting in incredible games. By avoiding power-hungry tech, it kept costs way down and battery life incredibly high. Look, we all have that shared nostalgia of its notoriously dim screen, right? Twisting and turning under desk lamps or trying to catch the streetlights in the back of the car just to see the action, but its seamless backward compatibility with original Game Boy and Game Boy Color games made it an absolute must-have from day one.
And the library? Absolutely phenomenal. We were talking about literal masterclasses in 2D game design, titles like Metroid Fusion, Golden Sun, Advance Wars, and the Minish Cap. The GBA essentially became a pocket-sized Super Nintendo, preserving an entire era of stunning 2D art styles, while home consoles were busy pushing, let's be honest, kinda clunky early 3D graphics. These unforgettable adventures are exactly why this little system drove a massive 81.5 million units in sales.
Moving to number 9, we have a fascinating case study in ambition versus reality, the Atari Lynx from 1989. The Lynx was technically astonishing for its time. It boasted the very first backlit color display when its rivals were still rocking black and white. And it even allowed you to flip the console for left-handed play. No way, right? But that raw power required a legendary sacrifice. It demanded 6 AA batteries and drained them faster than you could finish watching a Saturday morning cartoon. Its massive appetite for power is ultimately what kept it from climbing higher on our definitive list.
While raw ambition kinda held the Lynx back, our number 8 spot succeeded through sheer legacy. Enter the Nintendo 3DS, launched in 2011. Now, the glasses-free 3D effect was the big headline feature that grabbed everyone's attention. But if we look past the flashy marketing, the real foundation of its legendary status was its robust backward compatibility with the massive Nintendo DS library. This didn't just give players an instant catalog on day one, it protected the huge software investment consumers had already made, which built immediate trust.
Let's move to NN and see how this builds into an unstoppable ecosystem. The 3DS went on to sell over 75 million units, totally driven by stellar first-party support. Games like Fire Emblem Awakening, Animal Crossing New Leaf, and Pokémon Sun and Moon were absolute system sellers. But honestly, perhaps its most brilliant innovation was Street Pass. It gamified the physical act of carrying a console. It turned a lonely, everyday commute into this cool, asynchronous social event, creating unexpected magical interactions just by walking past another player with the console hidden in your bag.
Taking the 7th spot is a device that was simply ahead of its time. The beloved cult classic, the PlayStation Vita. The Vita may have been abandoned by Sony a bit too soon, but my goodness, it felt like a console sent straight back from the future. It totally paved the way for modern premium handhelds by proving there was a real market for high-end, uncompromised portable tech. It featured a stunning OLED screen way before that was the industry standard, actual dual analog sticks for true console-like control, and premium remote play capabilities.
Because it didn't get that massive mainstream support in its later years, the Vita was forced to evolve. And it did. It transformed into the ultimate indie and niche game machine, which inadvertently created a blueprint for the modern indie-focused handheld market we see today. Standout titles like Persona 4 Golden, Gravity Rush, and Tearaway solidified the Vita's legacy. For those who owned one, it remains one of the most cherished and meticulously crafted handhelds ever made. Now we enter the realm of the true industry disruptors. Coming in at number 6 is the original Nintendo Game Boy from 1989. Honestly, few devices have altered the course of gaming history more than this iconic gray brick. Was it the most powerful? Well, as we just saw with the Lynx, definitely not. But it was reliable, it was affordable, and it came bundled with a little game called Tetris. That specific pairing didn't just sell units, it completely broadened the demographic. Tetris appealed to adults, to business people on flights, and to casual players everywhere, proving once and for all that handhelds weren't just toys for kids. 118 million. That is the combined, absolutely staggering global sales figure of the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. To put that massive number into perspective for you, it outpaced almost every single traditional home console of its era. You really have to let that sheer volume sink in. This wasn't just a successful product or some fleeting trend. It was a global cultural milestone that completely redefined entertainment for an entire generation.
If the original Game Boy defined a generation, our number 5 entry rewrote the rulebook entirely. When the Nintendo DS was announced in 2004, a lot of people thought the dual-screen design sounded incredibly strange. But the very moment players got their hands on it, everything changed. The combination of dual screens, touch controls, and eventually a built-in microphone fostered a level of creative game design that brought in millions of non-gamers. It effectively anticipated the massive smartphone revolution by several years.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer dominance resulting from that specific hardware philosophy. This blue ocean strategy resulted in an astounding 154 million units sold. The Nintendo DS remains one of the best-selling pieces of consumer electronics in human history. It proves definitively that innovative input methods and accessible gameplay will always trump raw graphical processing power.
It reached those towering heights by catering to absolutely everyone and utilizing that unique hardware to its absolute fullest. You had the tactile satisfaction of drawing boomerang paths in Zelda, the incredibly deep dual-screen stat management in Pokémon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the massive brain training boom that captivated entirely new demographics with Professor Layton, and wildly inventive touchscreen combat in The World Ends With You. The library truly offered an unforgettable experience for every single type of player.
Claiming the number 4 spot is the device currently redefining the modern era, the Steam Deck. Released in 2022, Valve accomplished something truly remarkable here through an absolute engineering marvel of power efficiency and heat management. They essentially shrunk a heavy-duty gaming PC into a device you can just toss in a backpack. Suddenly, we had access to thousands of massive, complex PC games on the go, alongside incredibly strong emulation capabilities and a constant stream of software improvements, a real game changer.
This quote perfectly captures the magic of the device. Playing the Steam Deck feels less like a handheld and more like carrying a tiny gaming universe that unfolds whenever you press the power button. It fundamentally shifts the entire paradigm. You're no longer buying a handheld and crossing your fingers hoping a good library releases for it over the next few years. You are bringing a massive, pre-existing, decades-old PC library with you in your backpack right from day one. It represents the absolute cutting edge of what portable gaming can be today.
Okay, as we approach the absolute pinnacle of our definitive list, things get incredibly tight. Spots 3 and 2 belong to titans that completely shattered the barrier between portable devices and traditional home consoles, the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation Portable.
So the crucial point is how these two approach that hybrid concept from wildly different eras. The Switch, taking our number 3 spot, revolutionized the hybrid concept by letting us seamlessly undock our living room experiences. It sold over 150 million units by letting us play from the couch to a flight without skipping a single beat. But the PSP, claiming the number 2 spot, executed a truly visionary concept way back in 2004. Long before smartphones existed, it gave us a premium multimedia center. We were playing console-quality movies, music, browsing the internet, and playing stunning 3D games all right there in our pockets.
Both of these machines delivered undeniable console-quality exclusives that proved handhelds didn't need to be watered-down experiences. They were literal industry milestones. On one hand, you have the Switch redefining the entire concept of open worlds with Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey. On the other hand, the PSP brought massive cinematic blockbusters to our pockets with God of War Chains of Olympus and incredible cooperative experiences like Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Absolutely mind-blowing stuff.
All right, before we reveal the undisputed number 1, we really have to pause and validate some incredible runners-up. Handheld history simply wouldn't be the same without the exceptionally clicky joystick of the Neo Geo Pocket Color, the pioneering backlit screen of the Sega Game Gear, the pure distilled pocketability of the Game Boy Micro, or the raw horsepower of modern competitors like the Asus ROG Ally. These devices push boundaries and undeniably shape the landscape we all enjoy today.
But there can only be one undisputed king. The definitive, absolutely greatest handheld gaming console of all time is the Nintendo Game Boy Color.
Released in 1998, it achieves this ultimate rank because it wasn't trying to be a portable home console. It was perfectly comfortable just being a handheld, and it mastered that specific role flawlessly. The Game Boy Color struck the ultimate, golden balance of portable engineering. It leveraged a massive backward-compatible library, possessed absolutely incredible battery life, and featured a highly affordable, practically indestructible design that effortlessly survived playgrounds, backpacks, and countless accidental drops. Because of that rock-solid reliability, it became the absolute perfect vessel for iconic adventures like Pokémon Gold and Silver, Link's Awakening DX, and Wario Land 3.
And this brilliantly illustrates its lasting magic. To quote our source material directly, like a tiny brick packed with adventure, it could disappear into a jacket pocket and reappear moments later as an entire fantasy world. It modernized a beloved platform without losing its soul. It retained everything that made portable gaming fundamentally special, which is exactly why it stands unrivaled at the very top of our definitive list.
And that brings our explainer to a close. From battery-hungry tech marvels to tiny bricks packed with adventure, handheld gaming is truly a testament to ongoing technological evolution. But I want to turn it over to you. Looking at all the legendary devices we've covered today, which handheld holds your ultimate gaming memories? Let that question simmer, and thank you so much for joining me for this definitive look at gaming history. Keep playing, and I'll catch you next time.